In this video, I am going to provide a narration of our National Parks Wonder Tour that my father and I took out in the Northwest United States. In this photo, this is just us boarding the plane on the first day trip out. Of course, I had on my mask and my scarf to protect my head and my face. That's my dad. And he's 82 years old. This photo is in the taxi cab headed to the hotel. You can see these beautiful mountains in the background. And we landed in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. The airport was very small. And so you could see the mountain range in the background. It was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. So when we got checked into our hotel, we decided to get lunch. This is at a local restaurant. That's what it was called, but it was nice. It was across the street from the hotel. We could see the mountain view and the street view from the restaurant. It was a second-story restaurant. This picture is my dad getting ready to order his food. We got our drinks. More pictures of the surrounding area in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Oh, that's the name of the restaurant, Sidewinders in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I like how they had the decor there. They had the flowers and the barrel. So it gave it a nice rustic Western feeling. And the restaurant was made out of these logs. So I thought that was pretty neat. This was walking away from the restaurant. You could see that they made this wall was out of rocks that were held in by rebar. But I thought it was really nice touch because it kind of looked like a mountainside, but you could kind of see the wires, the wire mesh holding the rocks in. But I thought that was a really nice touch. Took a picture of that city and get familiar with our surroundings. We got there rather early, and so we decided to take the bus and look around the city. That was one of the things I always wanted to do with my father, is ride a city bus with him, because he rides public transportation for fun and to people watch. So it was really nice to be able to do that with him. This is the pool at the hotel. It's just me sitting back on one of the lounge chairs looking at the pool. It's very nice. So we decided to take pictures because they had this Western theme. So you can see, as you'll see in some of the other pictures we have, that they have these animals that you can that were built into the hotel. And so we could see this bear. We decided to take a picture from the bear. So we took a couple shots. There's shot number 2. This one I posted on my social media. This is what the lodge at Jackson Hole, that's our hotel. Really nice, nicely done. And you can see the bear theme and the hotel. That's picture of me in front of the fireplace at the hotel. Just really nice touch. Now, this is a picture of elk antlers. It's my understanding that elk antlers fall off, and when they fall off, they gather these elk antlers and they make art out of these pieces. So in this case, they made a coffee table out of an elk antler. So when we arrived to Jackson Hole, Wyoming at the hotel, this was waiting in the hotel room because it was actually my birthday. So my significant other had this waiting in the room for me as a birthday surprise. I wrote a really sweet note. So I took a video clip of that. Next, this was at our reception dinner on the first day at Jackson Hole. This is our tour director. His name is Tyson. He was exceptional at making us feel welcome and comfortable and letting us know what the tour we could expect each day on the tour. And we had about 52 people on the bus with us, including the driver. His name was Floyd. And this was just a kind of icebreaker and dinner reception. That's my dad getting ready to board the bus. The tour was with Trafalgar, and that's Floyd. That's a couple of our tour bus drivers. And the interesting thing about this bus is that every day we got to sit in a different place. So they would have assigned seating so that sometimes we were in the front of the bus, sometimes we were in the back of the bus, middle of the bus, right side, left side. So we got different perspectives and everybody got to move around the bus on different seats. So this first place that we went to was at the Grand Teton Park. And you can see the Teton Mountains, or maybe not, behind the clouds because it was foggy and early morning. And this is one of the barn areas that we were able to see. So we actually stopped at this barn area because it had some historical significance. And so we stopped there on the bus and got out and walked around to look at the landscape and take in the mountains. It was raining that first day that we toured, and it was quite cold. And so we had packed ponchos to be able to deal with that. So then we went on to Karen lady had her dog loose, and he said, well, this Karen lady said, I'm gonna call the police on you and tell them that you attacked me. And he says, do what you want to do, but he recorded her. And it backfired. It was absolutely breathtaking to see these beautiful mountains with snow peaks and glaciers on top. And one of the visitors offered to take a picture of Dad and I. And so that's what the Teton Mountains in the back. He was quite happy. So was I. So this is where we went to a lake called Lake Jenny. And this is also near the Teton Mountains. And the lake was just so beautiful and still. They call this a beach area. So being from the area we are, we know what real beaches look like, but this lakefront beach was different to see. More pictures of that lakefront beach. And these trees, I thought the tree bark was interesting. There's a story about these that it's like a network of trees underground, and that even if they're destroyed by fire, they're not really destroyed. They end up living on. So even though we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tree barks in the picture, this is actually one tree that comes up and sprouts out from the ground. So I thought that was interesting nature story. That's me at Lake Jenny behind the Teton Mountains. Quite cold. My daughter knit that cap, so I was appreciative and was able to wear it. Another view, picture me at the mountains. Beautiful landscape. I like to put together puzzles, so I'm thinking about making puzzles out of some of these pictures because it was just so peaceful and beautiful. So this is at the Church of Transfiguration, and you'll see in a few pictures ahead of what the church building looks like. But this is at the national park, and if you remember from the Bible, Jesus went up on the mountain and he was transfigured into the Christ and began really implementing what the prophecy was in terms of a sacrificing himself for our sins. But at this church, on the pulpit behind the big picture window is a picture of the mountains. And unfortunately, I didn't have a beautiful good enough camera to capture the moment, but just having those pictures, the mountains in the background, in the backdrop as the preacher's preaching is really nice. But this is not a preacher, this is my dad standing there. But I thought it would be a great picture to capture him in this church with this mountain view behind. Another picture of Dad. And this is a picture just sitting from the pew without anyone up there. Another one. And this is what it looks like from the pulpit looking back at the audience. The church was empty that day, so we, as a part of our tour, we were just looking at that. In this church was this beautiful picture of the Transfiguration of Christ. And you can see the Black Christ and the Black disciples. So they had accurate history depiction on this picture. Needed prayer in my life, and other people put in people who needed prayer, and I put in the city and state that I was from. I thought that was a beautiful touch. Where we were, you can see wild sage growing, and I use sage quite a bit for cleansing my space and purifying it. So I thought it was great to capture a picture of wild sage growing in this area. We went to at the national park, they had this replica of a ferry boat. So let me see if I can enlarge this ferry boat. On this ferry boat, you can see the two floats and then a platform, and then they had a covered wagon on this float. So you can't see it on the picture, but there was a river that these two brothers used to pay people had to pay them to cross the river, and they'd put their ferry, their covered wagon, their horses and family on it and cross the river. So they made a living on the Teton Mountains by operating a ferry service and a general store. So in pictures ahead, you'll see the general store. And then this is pictures of what the store may have looked like when the brothers settled the area. So I took some pictures of things that I thought would be neat. Now this is back in Jackson Hole, downtown Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Like I said, very rustic city, very walkable city. I thought this is an interesting building. This was actually a jewelry and antique shop. And here's an example of how they use the antlers to make art. So in this case, these are antelope antlers. They fall off the antelope every single year. And so they made an arc to the city. And this picture of Pop standing there in the art. And let's see, it says Jackson Hole, Wyoming here. And there's him with a big smile on his face. He's quite happy. Okay, there's a picture, selfie of me in front of the arc. You can kind of see the flavor of the downtown area. Another selfie. So as we were walking around, we saw a stagecoach that was drawn by two horses. So my Pop was very intrigued by that. So we decided to get into the stagecoach, take pictures in front of it. There you're on the stagecoach. There's me, there's Pop, super happy about that. So that stagecoach took us for a ride around the city. It lasted about 15 minutes and it was quite reasonable. I think it was $8 for each passenger, and it was well worth it to have that coach experience. This is more pictures of the hotel. This is the fireplace in the lobby. They've got a lot of, like I said, animal depictions here. So there's a taxidermy, either moose. There's the stairs leading up to the second floor, and they've got a taxidermy of a lion, a mountain lion. They got little bears here. More views of the Teton Mountains. So beautiful. And the peak is here. And even though it's August, it would still have snow and ice on these mountains. So there's me in the cold, taking a selfie. Another selfie. Now, at this place, we went to the hot springs. And this is Collapsing Springs. So we were able to walk on this boardwalk and see all these hot spring areas. And they were beautiful because the water was crystal clear, as you could see. And you could see the bubbles bubbling up from the earth onto the surface, and steam and everything like that. And so you had to stay on the walkway, because if you got off, you could potentially get burned or killed. But this spring was particularly nice because of the crystal clear water. Here's more pictures of some of the hot springs that we saw. This is all in Yellowstone National Park. And it kind of looks like another planet, just looking at what's there. Picture of my dad and I. So our tour director would provide these itineraries of what we're going to do from one day to the next. So this one would talk about what we would do that night. So it's tonight, Tuesday, August 27th, include dinner and canyon entry with diner, and just the times that what we would be doing at each time and when we would get back to the hotel. It had the low, so that particular day the low was 38, the high was 65, and had the sunrise and sunset times. So on this particular tour, we pulled the bus over because we saw some bison on the side of the road. And this is a country where the buffalo definitely did wrong. So bison and buffalo are all the same. And so we saw these wild buffalo um, eating on the side of the road. So we decided to stop and take pictures. Now, everybody has sense enough to not get close to the wildlife. And they tell you that in the national park not to get too close because these are definitely wild animals. So this is the lodge at Yellowstone National Park. It's called the Hayden. We stayed there. I think our room was on the second floor, somewhere around here. Really nice touch, very rustic. I think I have some pictures showing what they look like. Oh, let's back to the hot springs. Picture selfies at the hot springs. And these are pictures I took of the history of the geysers. I like this picture because it says puff and stuff. So I thought that was worthy of taking a picture of. And some history about those, about how the springs came to be and why they got their names. Here's a waterfall that we were taken to up in Yellowstone, and I thought that was a beautiful picture. Just so much nature and quiet serenity. Really nice to see and enjoy, breathe this fresh air. It's one of the geysers that we were able to see. It's at Yellowstone Park. Again, we're on this boardwalk walkway because it's too dangerous to walk the surface itself. And this walk was about a half a mile walk of boardwalk to see the different geysers and craters. That's one of the views from the boardwalk, just like another planet, as I said. So finally we arrived to Old Faithful Geyser. So we were fortunate enough to see two eruptions. So this is before the first eruption, and captured a picture of Dad right in front of the sign. And that's with the geyser about to start erupting. We had a great seat. That's at the Old Faithful area at Yellowstone Park. So we were able to see this teepee, and you'll see a child in there. And it's neat to see how they're made and how they were constructed. Here's a video of the geyser actually showing the steam coming out of the ground and the beautiful colors. So you can see the smoke comes up white and red and blue. And all of this is steaming hot. Dare not walk on it because you definitely get injured or worse. So let's go back and see if we could see. This is Old Faithful erupting. This is the second view that we saw, the Old Faithful geyser. Hopefully I have a video later on in the slide. Yep, here it is. This is when we saw Old Faithful begin to erupt. Let's give it a chance to start. So continuing in Yellowstone National Park, we went to another waterfall area. Several views and pictures of that, including selfies and candid photos. Now this one is one of the original Yellowstone National Park tour buses. I thought this was neat and wanted to share this tour bus here. So this is a video clip of me walking around the tour bus. There's only just about 30 of them left, and we were fortunate enough to see it at the Yellowstone National Park original hotel, which the hotel was yellow, as you can see, and the tour bus was parked in front. But that's how they used to tour tourists in the motor coach at the park at that time. I'm told that the Yellowstone Hotel that we were at, where I took a picture of this tour bus, this video of the tour bus, there's a 2-year wait list to check into the hotel. Okay, next, this is a bison that was on our pathway headed to dinner back at the hotel we were staying at in Yellowstone. So we like literally didn't get too close, but was close enough to capture this photo. I believe this is a video of the waterfall at Yellowstone National Park. More video. I believe this is a 360-degree view video clip that I took. This is called the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone National Park. So that's where we were for this picture, this video clip. So this is at the Buffalo Bill Welcome Center. They had this beautiful teepee that we were able to see. And I think there may be a video clip of us going in. Hopefully I saved it. Buffalo Bill Center of the Wild West. In here, there were a few museums, including the Buffalo Bill Museum, the Cody Firearm Museum, the Plains Indian Museum, the Whitney Western Art Museum, the McCracken Research Library, and the Draper National History Museum. While we were there, we didn't have a chance to see everything. We did look at the Buffalo Bill Museum and the Plains Indian Museum. And here are a few photos from that. I particularly enjoyed the Plains Indians Museum part of the building and took these photos, including this image of Crazy Horse. Okay, this is a video clip of being in the teepee that I showed you in the beginning. Also at the museum, they had a chuck wagon. So at the chuck wagon, they would serve coffee and beans and biscuits. So okay. Not sure what this was, but we were still in Yellowstone. I believe we were just riding on the bus, and these are some of the pictures we snapped from the bus going up and over mountains to get to our next destination. Now we stopped here in Wyoming to have a break, and they offered us pie and coffee. So this is a picture of the building that we were in. This is a video clip of riding on the bus and seeing the mountains and trees and some John Denver in the background. Fair use, YouTube, fair use. And I do not own the rights to this music. So this is the tour itinerary for the next day, which at that point we were going to Sheridan, Wyoming, continuing the national park tour and the things that we were going to see the next day. So here we saw some, this is a thrift store, not a thrift store, a boutique. I saw these books in here and I took pictures of them. I may want to read them at some point, but I order my books on Amazon. So this is the landscape of the area. This is called Devil's Tower. Kind of reminds you of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So we went to this park to see this up close. I'll read this real quick. It says how the tower came to be according to the Native American Indian tradition. It says American Indians know many oral traditions and sacred stories about how the tower formed. Cheyenne, Crow, Kiowa, and Lakota histories tell of a tower growing tall to help people escape bears, which once lived in the region. Arapaho talk of a bear girl who slips and scratches the enormous rock. The oral traditions are rich and complex, and we are privileged to hear them from the people who learned them from their ancestors. So you can see how they talked about that tradition. Bear Lodge. This says, the dozens of tribes have connections to Devil's Tower, have many names for it. Several call it Bear Lodge for many grizzlies and black bears that live there. The name Devil's Tower originated during the 1875 scientific expedition to the Black Hills. The commander of the charge of military escort, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Dodge, wrote that the Indians call the shaft Bad God Tower. He modified the name to Devil's Tower. Are in South Dakota. Can't remember the name of the city. What was it called? It'll show us a few slides ahead, but they had this figurine on the couch. So there's Pop. And this is what the city street looks like. It looks like an old Wild West with the brick streets and the shops on both sides and saloons. And this is a gambling town. So they had gambling options. What does this look like? So I took a picture. Oh, it's called Deadwood. So that's where we were. The main street of Deadwood. And this is a video clip of me just walking the streets of Deadwood, sightseeing. Oh, no, this is the actual replica of a shootout. A reenactment of a shootout involving the character Buffalo Bill. So that was the reenactment. This is in one of the casinos. We stopped and grabbed a bite to eat and a drink. So as I said, a lot of gambling is legal there. So most of the salons and hotel lobbies all have casinos and places to gamble. It's me on the bus, selfie on the bus. Itinerary where we were headed to Rapid City and what we were going to do that day. Oh, this is the video with me walking in Deadwood, South Dakota, near a shop that sold carved art. And that's one of our, this is in Rapid City, South Dakota. So we were at the Rushmore Hotel and Suites. This is us down there for breakfast. So in the Rushmore Hotel, which is in the same city as Mount Rushmore, they have these statues of all the presidents in the street. So this is closest to our hotel. There's a statue of President Kennedy and his son, John F. Kennedy Jr. So picture pop in front of that statue. This piece of art in the hotel that shows the history of the buffalo and the wildlife in the area. I thought this piece is a beautiful piece to capture the horses and the buffalo and the Native Americans. Lobby of the hotel with different time zones. Okay, so this is at the Badlands. They said that these mountain ranges were underwater at one point. So you can kind of see the different water levels over time, and very grassy, very hot. So no more cold weather there. Picture my dad and I in front of the Badlands. So we stopped at the Badlands National Park Center. And this is some information about the park itself. And there's the visitor center. We stopped in and looked around. And these next few photos of us touring the Badlands and learning about the history and geology of that area. Another selfie. It's kind of like a Grand Canyon. And look at the earth. They call it the Badlands because the settlers could not grow anything there. So wouldn't be able to grow crops, wouldn't be able to farm and have your animals be sustained. They could only just kind of drop right there, right through. There was a few overlooks where we stopped in the bus and looked over. Here we were able to see prairie dogs. Not sure if you could see any up close. Yeah, there's a prairie dog right there. Cute little animals, hundreds of them here that dig holes and live underground. And, it's a part of the ecosystem and wildlife of the park area. When we stopped at one of the overlooks, we saw two rams that were just kind of seated and resting and eating. We didn't get too close, but it was neat to see that level of wildlife in the Badlands. And this gives you a perspective of how far and wide the Badlands go and how deep they are. One of our fellow tours took a picture of Dad and I. This is another part of the Badlands that it's kind of yellow in color, but still quite high elevation. And in the Badlands, you have to stay on the paths because there's wild rattlesnakes. There's a picture, warning tourists to be careful. Here we went down the boardwalk to get another view of how the Badlands looks. As I said, it has a flavor of a Grand Canyon, but there's it would not be suitable for farmland, just passing through. This video clip is just a view of the area that we saw. Here's another video clip. That's good. Okay, this video clip is of Wall Run, at least the part that I seen. It was too much to see in the time that we were there. Definitely have to make a trip back and take a full day or two to see the entire store area. Hey, that was one of our meals at Rapid City. I think that was some type of roast beef and salad. It was actually good. This is when we went to Mount Rushmore, seeing the presidents. This was in the evening, so there was like an evening ceremony. I did not record it because I wanted to really enjoy it, but we actually went to Mount Rushmore twice. But before we went there, we went to the Crazy Horse Welcome and Visitor Center. And Crazy Horse was a Indian warrior that protected and fought for his people and his land. And they're building this monument, and it took almost 80 years to get the monument to this level right now. But with new science and technology and donations, hope to see this monument finished in this lifetime. In a few pictures ahead, they'll show what the monument will look like when it's done. But I really love capturing a picture of the Indian displays. This is what the Crazy Horse Monument will look like when it's finished. Absolutely gorgeous. I plan to go back and view that when it's completed. Here's some Indian regalia. Absolutely gorgeous. And they had children doing some of the traditional dances for us to see and view. And their regalia and their dancing routines was absolutely delightful to see. I have a lot of respect for the Native Americans. This picture says these are the survivors of the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876 at a reunion in the Black Hills of South Dakota, September 2nd, 1948. So these would be elders, of course, at the time this picture was taken, but when that battle happened in 1876, they were young warriors. Some of the weapons of the day. Okay, there's a video of the children dancing. Or one of the this next video is of the boy dancing. So this is at Mount Rushmore.